So hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. So today I was thinking of testing my capabilities. So yeah, I challenged myself to make a project in 7 days. Well, initially that was the motive, but can I make a project in 7 days? Well, you will see it in the upcoming video. So here, as I thought of making yet another environment kind of scene where a guy can be seen chilling and then diving into water. So first I started by making a beer can. Well, it wasn't much of a task. I began with a cylinder, shaping the top and the bottom to resemble a beer can. Then for the lid, I used a reference photo and used the knife tool accordingly. After modeling it, I went to make a bake. But why a bake? Well, after summarizing everything after some time, you will understand why. Well, now for the bake. I used a cube and then subdivided it. Then I gave it a bag-like appearance. I used my own bag as a reference this time. Then I added a net pocket at the side of the bag, just like my original bag. Then after adding some other details to the bag like the chain part and all, it was done. So now I needed a 3D character. Well, as I don't know anything about 3D sculpting and also 3D animation and anything, so I used Mixamo for the characters. Not only characters but also the animation for the characters. So first I downloaded a model, then I used an arm stretching animation, then a slow running animation, and finally a diving animation. Well, I tried several ways to make the animation go together smoothly, but after a while it worked out somehow like this. The arm stretching part, and after that the slow run was nothing to sense since it was perfectly animated in a sequence. But then the dive starts from the center point, like we have to start the dive animation after the slow run, but it starts again from the center point. So to make the position of the diving animation start from where the slow run ends, I went to the graph editor by first selecting the keyframes of the dive animation. Then I deselected everything in the armature section except the Z location in the graph editor. Then I placed the Z location of the dive animation accordingly to the slow run, and hence boom, a really good animation was made. Now time for the landmass and the river. First I use a landscape modifier for the plain area and the big mountains. For the landmass below the river, I first use a simple plane and set it accordingly using proportional editing. So then I placed a plain area for the river. I thought of editing the river in textures only. So after that I added two big stones in the project. After that I used the big stones as particles on the plane to give it a appearance of small stones in the project. Small stones in the like the plane area. I then use a displacement map as a texture for a plane below the river. I then added grass to the planes using particle settings and the Z-scatter add-on. Then I added texture to the meshes and further adjusted them until they look good. Then after that I use snow textures and hilly land textures and mix them to give the mountains a snowy mountain kind of look. Then I added grass on the mountains the same way I added it on the plains, and yeah, The textures were quite easy and done perfectly, though it was a bit laggy for my laptop, you know. Well, now I then added a new texture to the river. I took the transmission all the way from 0 to 1. Then I added a mapping node. After that I added a noise node and also a bump node for more details and realism to the river. I made a camera angle that goes inside the water after my character dives in the river to give a first person perspective kind of look. To give water body below the plain river region, I used a shrink wrap modifier and gave depth to the river body. I also added some bubbles rising above, but it didn't look realistic enough. So I tried to give it a more realism, but my device was also lagging and it was not going as I thought, so I thought of fixing it later. Well, then I textured the can with images I made using Photoshop. I didn't got into too much detail for the can as it will be appearing in the scene too small, although I gave the basic texture a can needs. Now time for the bake. After UV unwrapping the bake, I exported it into Substance Painter. The bake somehow was transparent even after correcting the normals of the faces in Blender. After trying for a day and not being able to solve it after seeing dozens of YouTube videos, my 6 day was wasted. So the 7th day, I designed a new bake again using the same old processes, except this time I made the bake faces look cleaner and also ensured using fewer faces for the net pocket in the bake. This time after exporting it to Substance Painter, it was all fine. Well, comment down below why the problem occurred in the first place. Now after giving a basic texture to my bake, I exported it back into Blender. Then at last I took the bag and the beer can into the main project. Well, now after adjusting the camera animation, the first camera which I will be using before the FPP camera, I thought of giving animation to the grass also, but it was not as easy as it seemed. Well, my device was laggy and very slow, so I couldn't give a very nice animation to the grass. Well, so I thought of solving some other problems like the bubbles, which was not looking real but couldn't possibly solve it either. So well, my 8th day was also not that much of a success. Well, for now I am just tired and exhausted because my project was not looking very satisfactory, you know. So I decided to finally render the project. My rendering process was enough for my 9th day as it took my whole day almost. Well, I tried some possible ways of making my project and render look better, although it was a complete waste and I was exhausted. Well, I had a little time in my 9th day for editing my project and all in DaVinci Resolve, but as I've already lost the 7-day challenge and also my renders were not satisfactory, I was a bit demotivated. Well, I edited the renders a little in DaVinci Resolve. I added some camera shake to the camera below the river to give it a first person perspective, I also added some fog to the scene, but at the end I understood that I had many things to learn in order to improve my renders. Well, I was not satisfied with this project. Not only was I able to complete the 7-day challenge, but it also didn't look very satisfying. But for now I must improve. So yeah, stay with me in my journey. Give a like and subscribe to my channel for further videos. Also comment some tips for improving my renders and all. So yeah, until next time, bye bye.